Yo, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another What If video, and in today's What If video, I'll be doing the final part of What If Spider-Man fought Michael Myers. What if Spider-Man and fighting Michael Myers, continuing where we left off in part 2, when 1994 Spider-Man, Venom, and Doctor Strange were unfortunately at tough plays, as Carnage Myers, Michael Myers, bonding with the Carnage symbiote, ended up taking Jamie, Steven, Dr. Loomis, Kara, Tommy Doyle, and Danny, all to the Cult of Thorn. So we're going to go ahead and get to the final part. Before we go ahead and get into this, make sure you guys go ahead, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below what you thought of the first two parts if you're excited for this part. Also, announcement that rewrite of Halloween 6 will be releasing tomorrow on Monday, Halloween Day. That's when the rewrite of Halloween 6 will be released, since I have been working on it a lot throughout October, so we'll be ready by then. Expected to be about a 30-minute half-hour mini-movie, although I might be going for 40 minutes to 45. I still haven't decided yet, since there are some unnecessary scenes that do not be in it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this What If. We open on Carnage Myers as we see him taking Jamie, Dr. Loomis, Steven, the Cult of Danny, Kara, as well as Tommy Doyle to the Cult of Thorn. Dr. Wynn ends up smiling, telling Jamie that he's impressed that she got away for this long, but it was only a matter of time before they ended up catching him. Jamie ends up yelling at him, saying that you'll not hurt my baby. However, Wynn simply laughs, and Carnage Myers forms a knife, and he ends up saying the Carnage symbiote, telling him to shut up, and that you might want to watch the way you talk. Jamie and all the other terrified would say, of course, we'll shut up. And this, the Cult of Thorn ended up laughing, and they said that the ritual will begin soon, and he tells them all to get prepared, as Carnage Myers will be a huge part of it as well, and that Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Venom cannot stop them. They've grown far too powerful. And Dr. Wynn and the Cult of Thorn laugh. However, Dr. Loomis ends up stepping forward, saying that they will indeed stop you, because there will all be someone to stand opposed to something. Even if you win, someone else will come to stop you. However, Wynn simply laughs and tells Carnage Myers, kill him. And thus, Carnage Myers ends up cutting off Loomis's head, killing Dr. Loomis right then and there. Jamie, Steven, Danny, Kara, and Tommy are immediately terrified. Carnage Myers then grabs Jamie by the throat. He simply says, while forming a symbiote axe and bringing it right to her neck, "You're next." With Carnage Myers laughing, and the Carnage symbiote simply throws her to the ground. Jamie's obviously injured before we went to set the pain, and Wynn says to Carnage Myers to get them prepared, as the ritual will begin soon. With him laughing, and with him saying that now with Fisk out of our way, alongside Mordo and Dormammu, they will not be able to stop us. And no one can stop us unless somehow Spider-Man does. But the chances of that are very low. And Dr. Wynn simply laughs. Meanwhile, we come back to Spider-Man, Venom, and Doctor Strange. All of them contemplating what they're going to do. Spider-Man says there's no way they could possibly take on Carnage Myers. He's too powerful, with Venom also commenting this as well. With the serial killer like Michael Myers is regenerating, combining that with the Carnage symbiote, it's going to be impossible to beat him, even with someone as powerful as Doctor Strange. However, Strange says that he should be able to gather some more heroes. He ends up asking Spider-Man, do you have any allies? Spider-Man does. He tells him about Daredevil, the Punisher, Blade, and alongside this, Doctor Strange does also know Iron Man, and Iron Man can go ahead and get in contact with War Machine. Thus, Doctor Strange does go ahead and quickly contact them. Right when he's about to contact them, Madam Web would appear before them, with Spider-Man obviously being annoyed. Spider-Man would end up asking Madam Web, what do you want now, Madam Web? We're in the middle of an important task. We have to stop Carnage Myers. However, Madam Web would simply tell Spider-Man that you're going to have to think cautiously about this. As like Venom said, someone like Michael Myers with the Carnage symbiote is not going to be an easy fight, obviously. However, you need to play smart. You need to think of the symbiote's weaknesses if you're going to beat them, as well as Myers' weaknesses. Spider-Man simply ends up asking Madam Web, what weaknesses are there for Michael Myers? He's pretty much invincible. However, Madam Web simply said there's one body part that if you do manage to get off, will actually kill Michael Myers. However, you need to choose wisely which body part that is. All of them are obviously stuck on this, confused. However, they decided to put this off for now. Doctor Strange goes gets Iron Man, War Machine, Daredevil, Punisher, and Blade. All of them in a basking situation, with Spider-Man explaining it all to them, and Carnage Myers. All of them quickly realize that they're going to have to stop him now, thus they're all ready to go. And thus, Doctor Strange quickly opens a portal to where the Cult of Thorns headed at. Dr. Strange ends up telling them all to get ready as that the final fight begins, and that they're planning on stopping Michael Myers tonight. And if they fail this, then the world could die, and the entire world could maybe die from Carnage Myers due to the fact that the Carnage can be combined with Michael Myers is not easy. But Doctor Strange also explaining to them about the form Maximum Carnage. We can now let him go to Maximum Carnage form either. All of them end up nodding their head as they walk through the portal. Meanwhile, we see the Cult of Thorn as their ritual is about to begin, with Jamie obviously tied up alongside Kara. However, right before it's about to begin, with Carnage Myers standing there, waiting, making sure that everything in the ritual goes according to plan. All the heroes come out of there. Spider-Man ends up telling them all to stand down. There's no possible way you could take us all down. However, they simply laugh. When ends up asking Spider-Man, "You really thought you could beat us that easily?" Spider-Man simply say yes, and then not only that, he also has some more allies on the way that are on there. Decided that they'll make a surprise attack on you. With one simply laughing, saying, "Yeah, sure, I wonder who they could be." And he ends up telling Spider-Man, saying, "We're going to play a little game." Spider-Man's obviously heavily cautious at this, and he was saying, "Really? What's your game, then?" And Wayne simply laughs. He ends up telling Spider-Man that you have a choice to make. Either you save Jamie and Steven, and we'll let them go, but Tommy Doyle, Kara Strode, and Danny Strode die. Or you save Kara Strode and Danny Strode and Tommy Doyle, but Jamie and Steven die. Spider-Man and all the other heroes are obviously putting a rock in a hard place, considering that they don't want any of them to die. And although there's multiple amount of heroes, Carnage Myers stands in front of the two groups, with him saying, "Choose wisely," with him forming massive symbiote tendrils and claws, getting prepared just in case they pull anything. And Spider-Man quickly realizes that there's no possible way they could stall until his other allies show up. Thus, Spider-Man needs to think fast. He ends up looking around pretty quickly. However, he does get an idea, and he whispers something into Venom and Doctor Strange's ear, alongside Iron Man, so Daredevils, and thus all of them quickly get an idea. Spider-Man simply says, "Jamie and Steven, then." However, Wins obviously wasn't expecting this. As well as this, he also needs Jamie and Steven for some important part of the ritual. Thus, Win says, "Well, I'm afraid we're gonna have to cancel that deal." And Spider-Man simply say, "Now," as Venom will quickly launch symbiote tendril with Carnage Myers, distracting him, giving Doctor Strange enough time to open a portal. And when Carnage Myers is about to attack them, Daredevil, using his hearing, will tell Venom when to dodge, and thus Venom begins to dodge all the attacks, as all the other heroes alongside Daredevil himself. Meanwhile, Doctor Strange is managing to get the two groups free together. This obviously ends up pissing Win off, and he ends up telling Michael to kill them all now. Carnage Myers attempts to roar at them and does end up launching more symbiote tendrils, claws, weapons. However, they manage to dodge the attack due to Daredevil. He quickly realizes that if he's going to win this fight, he's going to have to get Daredevil out the way. Thus, Carnage Myers would attempt to get Daredevil out the way. However, Daredevil simply easily dodge all of his attacks with ease. With his enhanced hearing, it's going to be impossible to pretty much hit Daredevil. Alongside this, Iron Man simply says that he has contacted another ally himself, and that the two extra allies that will be showing up are almost here, and that with those two help, we should be able to easily win. But they're going to have to keep them distracted long enough this way so they can show up. The Spider-Man's making a few jokes to Carnage Myers, asking him, "Is that seriously all you've got?" This ends up pissing off Carnage Myers more. However, Doctor Strange knows he's going to have to pull something quick. Thus, he ends up doing something, and all of them end up getting teleported into the mirror dimension. Doctor Strange ends up explaining to them what the mirror dimensions is and how he's in control and how he can use this to beat Carnage Myers alongside the Cult of Thorn. The Cult of Thorn and Carnage Myers has no idea what to do as he never experienced something like this. Thus, he has to do something quick. All of them begin to attack Carnage Myers in different directions, with Doctor Strange moving around the mirror dimension, giving him the advantage. Carnage Myers attempts to fight back even more, using more symbiote tendrils. However, he realizes that he's going to get bested in here, and that he's got to figure out another way to beat this. Spider-Man does, however, quickly point this out, along with Iron Man as well, quickly realizing what the weakness is. However, thankfully, Carnage Myers doesn't know it yet. However, they quickly see that he's quickly beginning to calculate on how he could figure out what it could be. And he seems like he's about to get it. However, Spider-Man quickly makes a cheap shot and asks his Venom, saying that, you're going to have to keep it. You're going to have to keep looking at the fight. This ends up pissing off Carnage Myers even more, and he throws buildings at them. However, they simply dodge all the attacks. Alongside this, Doctor Strange would end up putting part of the city that they're at, for the part of New York, all into the ceiling. All of them will look shocked by this, especially Carnage Myers and the Cult of Thorn. Spider-Man ends up quickly uses this opportunity to go ahead and web kick him. And alongside this, Iron Man quickly launches a missile, as does War Machine, sending Carnage Myers flying and causing the symbiote beginning to freak out. Alongside this, War Machine and Iron Man use their sonic blasters. This way, the symbiote begins to freak out. However, it also ends up weakening Venom a bit. Thus, the two of them do get hesitant, giving Carnage Myers enough time to break it. And you would simply say, "Nah, I don't think so." And thus, you end up launching more symbiote tendrils at them, going into a symbiote tornado. All of them will manage to dodge the attacks. However, Carnage Myers will manage to get himself stuck. Carnage Myers will get pissed off at this, saying, "You're going to pay for that." He would end up saying that is that seriously all you got, and he would manage to break out. However, Carnage Myers uses this opportunity as he quickly figures out what the mirror dimension his weakness is, thus uses to his advantage, and it's geometry. And thus, because this uses this advantage and easily outmatches all the heroes one by one, going in intense one-on-one fights. And he has one huge one-on-one fight with both Spider-Man and Venom. The two of them team up in a 2v1 to take down Carnage Myers. However, Carnage Myers is simply way too powerful. Venom does ultimately get knocked out, leaving it at a one-on-one fight. Spider-Man and Carnage Myers brutally fight. Spider-Man ends up using one of the pieces of rubber nearby and does end up throwing it at Carnage Myers' face, and does a drop of blood does accidentally pour out, with Michael being shocked by this as a Spider-Man, as he isn't intending to kill him. However, Carnage Myers simply smiles and laughs, saying, "All that for a drop of blood?" And he would end up launching more symbiote tendrils at Spider-Man. Spider-Man would struggle to dodge all of them, and he would barely manage to dodge. The mask's costume continues to get ripped more and more, part of his mask being ripped off. He attempts to use this to his advantage, however, it's seemingly not working, as the mask is fully ripped off and Carnage Myers ends up stabbing Spider-Man through the chest. Spider-Man falls on the ground, shocked by this, and Carnage Myers simply laughs, and that he's heard of Spider-Man before, and that he respected him from what the files he did. And that it's a shame that they're all going to see him let him go. However, Doctor Strange ended up quickly realizing that their allies are here and that they're going to have to get out of the mirror dimension now. Thus, he quickly teleports them all out of the mirror dimension. All of them look shocked, and we end up seeing who the allies are, as all of a sudden, Metal Claw stabs Carnage Myers from behind. Carnage Myers screams in pain and ends up turning around, roaring to see who it is. He ends up seeing a man in a yellow costume with blue on it and black. Carnage Myers simply laughs, saying, "You're daring to attack me." However, the man simply says, "Oh no, that may have been me, but you're about to face a whole world of pain that's worse than that." Carnage Myers is extremely confused until all of a sudden he's punched from behind by a giant green fist and thrown to the ground, and gets punched in the face over again and again. He ends up throwing the green monster off, only for playing cards full of energy to throw him in the face. Carnage Myers ends up taking off guard by this, and then all of a sudden lightning ends up hitting Carnage Myers, sending him flying back hard. Carnage Myers ends up getting up, only for more to hit him down. Carnage Myers screams in pain as the symbiote begins to weaken, and the metal claws end up stabbing him right in the face. Carnage Myers ends up screaming in pain. Carnage Myers is extremely confused. He ends up getting up, and he ends up seeing the allies the heroes were mentioning were speaking of, and they end up seeing the X-Men and the Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk has contact with Iron Man. Meanwhile, the X-Men has contact with Spider-Man, and thus the two of them end up contacting both their allies separately. Carnage Myers ends up roaring as he knows who the X-Men and the Incredible Hulk are, as is the Cult of Thorn, and they realize this is now a much tougher fight. Does the X-Men and Incredible Hulk do help the other heroes up? They end up asking them, are they alright? With them saying that, yeah, with Spider-Man saying that although they got the worst of it, he feels like he could still fight, that they gotta stop him. Thus, they agreed. The X-Men ended up telling Jamie, Stephen, Danny, Kara, as well as Tommy Doyle to get on the ship, and that Professor Charles Xavier is waiting there for them. Alongside this, they end up asking, what about Dr. Loomis? And they would end up saying, Cyclops and Jean Grey help them, saying that they'll get their buddy inside here in a second. But it's just gonna take a bit. With Charles Xavier also helping. Charles Xavier ended up using his powers to help weaken Carnage Myers. Carnage Myers ends up screaming in pain as this happens. Thus, all use this to their advantage. Storm ends up launching a massive blast of electricity. Gambit ends up launching a couple of his cards. Wolverine prepares his claws and charges at Carnage Myers. The Incredible Hulk roars and ends up throwing a couple of pieces of rubble at them. Doctor Strange ends up using magic spells. Daredevil ends up dodging all his attacks. Punisher prepares a bunch of guns for him. Blade ends up getting a sword ready to go. Spider-Man switches to a different version of his web shooters, and Iron Man and War Machine begin to shoot beams at him. Venom, as well as his routine of using symbiote tendrils as well as symbiote axe to attack Carnage Myers. The Cult of Thorn realizes they have to do something quick, but they know they can't take themselves, even with their massive amounts of machine guns. They can't take on a few members of the X-Men, even though it's not the entire team. However, they would decide they at least need to try, and they would begin to activate the machine guns and begin to shoot at them. Cyclops and Jean Grey would manage to dodge it. Cyclops used a massive blast of beam coming from his eyes. This ended up sending the Cult of Thorn back down hard, realizing that they really do not stand a chance against them. Cyclops ended up telling them that you're coming with us and that you have a lot of explaining to do, especially to the police. The Cult of Thorn gulp, realizing that they're pretty much screwed and they can't win, and that their last hope is Carnage Myers. However, Carnage Myers seemingly looks like he's getting beat. However, Carnage Myers gets angered every second. Not only is the Carnage in here, but so is Michael. The anger coursing through both their veins. Carnage Myers ends up saying, "You're all going to die." and he ends up stabbing the Incredible Hulk, and ends up almost cutting off one of his arms. Hulk screams in pain as he's thrown to the ground and thrown into a couple buildings. The X-Men attempt to fight back with Wolverine's healing factor coming into play. However, he ends up saying, I don't think so, and throw Wolverine to the ground, stomping on him, knocking him out for a little bit. And realizing that he's going to have to get Wolverine out the way since he could be one of the hardest ones. Alongside this, he's going to grab me Doctor Strange by the throat, saying that you're going to regret that, and end up cutting off one of his legs. Doctor Strange would scream in pain, and Carnage Monster would brutally tear through the rest. Punisher, Blade, and Daredevil obviously stand no chance unless they go down like flies. Thus, all out left is Spider-Man and Venom once again. Carnage Monster blabbing, saying, what are you going to do? However, Cyclops and Jean Grey would begin to attack Carnage Myers, giving Spider-Man and Venom enough opportunity to throw pieces of rubble at Carnage Myers. Carnage Myers is ultimately thrown to the ground. However, he ends up grabbing the pieces of rubble and throws them at Cyclops and Jean Grey, knocking them both out and almost killing them. However, Professor Charles Xavier uses his powers to his advantage, and thus he ends up quickly weakening Carnage Myers even more. Carnage Myers gets even more annoyed at this, saying, you're going to die too, old man, you in your wheelchair. And he ends up throwing pieces of rubble at them. However, Spider-Man uses those, throwing it back down on him. Alongside this beast would end up coming out of nowhere, who was hiding this entire time, when it began to help Spider-Man and Venom. Carnage Miles would begin to roar in anger. He would quickly knock out Beast as well, saying that send all the X-Men, send all the heroes you have in me. I'm too powerful. I will easily defeat them all. However, Spider-Man and Venom would say, well, it's a shame. It's only us two left. Carnage Myers simply laughs, saying, I already beat you once before. What makes a difference now? However, Spider-Man and Venom would simply say, because we can stop you, and that you're not using your power responsibly. You're using it irresponsibly, killing people. You have so much great power, yet you choose to use it irresponsibly, Spider-Man explains. And Carnage Myers simply laughs, saying, really? Says the guy who's probably wanted to keep. Says the guy who has powers. And Spider-Man says, this the guy has powers. Even then, you probably have never wanted to give them up. And Spider-Man simply say, I'm the person here out of anyone who's wanted to give them their powers the most, because I've learned that with great power comes great responsibility. Carnage Myers is stopping at this, saying, well, it's a shame I don't follow that same code, and it's a shame you're going to die, because like I said, Spider-Man, I had a lot of respect for you. It's a shame, really. And Spider-Man saying, if that's the case, bring it on. And the Spider-Man quickly switched to a taser webs and went up launching them at Carnage Myers. Carnage Myers was screaming in pain, giving Venom enough opportunity to rip off the symbiote. And so all of a sudden, Iron Man says that he has an idea. He will manage to get back up and explain a teleportation device. That was it. Portal device. And if they just teleport out to some random universe or to nothing, then they might be able to destroy the Carnage symbiote for good, or Michael, or both. And they have this opportunity now. Thus, Iron Man War Machine quickly fly back to Stark Industries. Alongside this, Spider-Man Venom was quickly swinging there as well. However, Carnage Myers is following him. He says, I don't think so. And he begins to tear through people and tear through buildings. Carnage Myers begins to grow bigger as he slowly begins to get into maximum Carnage form. However, Michael is also slowly losing himself as well, and Carnage Myers is becoming more of a ruthless monster than Michael Myers, or the Carnage symbiote bonded with Cletus Cassidy is on their own in the separate timelines. Thus, Carnage Myers now becoming maximum Carnage Myers to bind them all. Spider-Man, Venom, Iron Man, and War Machine begin to activate the machine. However, Carnage Myers bursts through the building, and he ends up saying, I don't think so, and to form a two symbiote axis, killing everyone else in there. Iron Man, Venom, Spider-Man, and War Machine would struggle to dodge all the attacks. They realize that the final battle is near, and they have to defeat him now. Thus, he would end up activating the portal. However, Carnage Myers would begin to brutally beat down all of them. He would begin to rip through Iron Man and War Machine's suits like they're butter. Alongside this, he would end up grabbing Venom, ripping the symbiote off of him. However, part of the symbiote would attempt to bomb back with Peter, realizing he had to use a strong hose. However, Carnage Myers would end up ripping that part off, destroying it, thus leaving it in a one-on-one while the machine begins to turn on. Spider-Man Carnage Myers ended up having one brutal final battle. Carnage Myers easily begins to get the advantage and ends up stabbing Spider-Man in the leg to add on to the pain. Spider-Man screams in pain. However, he knows he can't go down. Thus, he ends up seeing Sonic Blast nearby and he activates them. Carnage Myers begins to scream in pain as Spider-Man sees poles nearby, and he begins to hit them on the ground, and he begins to surround Carnage Myers with this, using this to his advantage, along with grabbing one, hitting the metal poles as well, and activating the Sonic Blast to the maximum strength. Carnage Myers begins to scream in pain as Michael Myers and the Carnage symbiote begins to separate. Spider-Man ends up using his web and begins to separate Michael Myers and the Carnage symbiote. Carnage Myers ends up screaming no, and Michael is now separated from the Carnage symbiote. However, when Iron Man, Venom, War Machine, alongside the other heroes, that managed to follow them to help them, end up seeing this, and they end up seeing Michael out of it. Now they just think that everything's alright. However, they end up turning around in horror as they see the Carnage symbiote beginning to grow bigger. roaring, and it's charging at them. However, Spider-Man would simply say no, and we managed to hit back with another metal pull. The Carnage should be getting to freak out. Spider-Man says now, and thus they end up activating the portal. However, the Michael ends up seeing this quickly bonds the Carnage and almost destroys it. However, unfortunately for Michael, he ended up making a small miscalculation as the portal, as he ended up unstably. He ended up breaking the portal to the point to where if something doesn't get dragged in there, then the entire city's going to get destroyed. That's why all the heroes struggle to hold on. Carnage Myers begins to get pulled into it. Carnage Myers attempts one last attempt to get out of it. However, it's too late, and Carnage Myers, Michael Myers, and the Carnage symbiote is destroyed, completely killing them both. Even with Michael being able to regenerate himself, there's no possible way he can live through that. All of them look shocked by this, as does Jamie. Her uncle that went after her mother. Her mother then ended up dying in a car crash. The person ended up killing her aunt Judith. The person that ended up killing Rachel, Tina, a lot of people, is now gone. But she feels a bit of sympathy because of the way she died. And she knows that the Curse of Thorn was controlling him this entire time. And that Michael didn't want to do a thing. The Curse of Thorn forcing him. Jamie, Tommy, Kara, Danny went up thanking all the heroes, with all of them saying, of course, we had to help. It's the right thing to do. And Spider-Man ended up wishing them good luck, saying that he's sorry about Michael and their friend Dr. Loomis, as he couldn't make it. I said, tell Spider-Man it's fine. And they decide that they're all going to head back to Haddonfield and start a new life there. Spider-Man says that good. Spider-Man ends up saying his goodbye to the heroes, with them saying it's a shame the way Michael went out. With Spider-Man saying that he knows it is a shame. And that he hopes that they could potentially find him, because after all, he's still alive. So perhaps they can get rid of the Curse of Thorns since they're now finally in prison, with them agreeing. And Professor Charles Xavier said they'll take him back to the X-Mansion specifically. This way they could figure out a way to reverse the Curse of Thorn by interrogating them, as Wolverine and Storm will be interrogating them. Spider-Man ended up saying thanks, and he ended up telling Jamie this, with Jamie saying, I hope so. And Spider-Man ended up saying his goodbyes to all of them before we get one final swing with Spider-Man. However, we do get a post-credit scene. We end up seeing Spider-Man all of a sudden pulled him through a portal. He ends up landing on the ground somewhere. He's confused to where he's at, and we end up seeing symbiote MTV Spider-Man from What If Electro One and MTV Spider-Man, alongside What If Mr. Negative Spider-Man from What If Mr. Negative One and Spectacular Spider-Man. Alongside this, we see a few other Spider-Men and the Watcher. And that's where we're going to end. What if Spider-Man fought Michael Myers? So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys go ahead, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below what you thought of this. And I'll see you guys in the next one.